Little People, Big Dreams, Bob Dylan. Written by Maria Isabel Sanchez Vergara. Growing up in Ebbing, Minnesota wasn't very exciting for little Robert, the eldest son of the Zimmermans. He liked to listen to music on the radio and imagine he was somewhere else. Inspired by his rock idols, Robert taught himself the guitar, the harmonica, and a strange instrument called the auto harp, which he played to an audience that was easily pleased. At school, Robert would rather be invisible than draw attention to himself. When he took part in a talent show, the teacher turned his microphone off. Bob sounded like a dog whose leg was caught in barbed wire. That didn't stop him. He experimented with rock, blues, and country music. At college, he found his rhythm, playing old folk songs. The simple tunes were written by ordinary people who told stories about everyday life. Robert soon started composing his own music. He had a real talent for writing rhymes and making words fit to a beat. The songs were poetic, yet powerful, and he wrote them under his new name, Bob Dylan. 1 year later, Bob dropped out of college and moved to New York. There, he was a nobody, but he had his guitar, his harmonica, and another useful instrument, a hat. He was determined to use it, passing it around in bars where he played. One day, a guy from a record company came to one of his gigs. He was impressed by Bob's raw force and fresh lyrics and offered him his first music contract. Times were changing, and Bob's life was about to change too. Bob's music spoke about things that mattered: civil rights, war, and religion. Without trying, he became the voice of a generation eager to change the world, putting down in words what millions of people felt. His song became anthems sung by the most amazing artists of all times, reaching millions of people. Many of them had not heard his voice or known his name, but Bob didn't mind. Instead of giving interviews or playing at being a star, Bob preferred to keep to himself. For him, a perfect day was working on a poem, riding around on his motorcycle, or talking with friends. Being an artist meant being free and not caring about what others might think. Bob moved from folk to rock or pop, trying new sounds and exploring different styles, challenging himself as well as his fans. He received all the awards an artist could dream of, and he was the first musician ever to be recognized with a Nobel Prize for Literature. But in true Bob style, he didn't show up to the ceremony. Today, Little Bob, one of the greatest musicians and poets of all time, feels cool just being himself. He's an ordinary person who says what he thinks and does what he likes most, writing songs. Born Robert Allen Zimmerman, Bob grew up with his little brother and parents, Abram and Beatrice. Bob's grandparents emigrated from Russia to the United States in 1905, and the family soon became part of a close-knit Jewish community of Ebbing, Minnesota. Bob's father, Abram, owned an electrical appliance shop, and there Bob first listened to blues and country music stations, and later rock and roll. After several performances in the high school band, Bob went to the University of Minneapolis, where he changed his name and started to make folk music, which had more feeling than rock and roll. He soon dropped out of college and moved to New York, where he met the famous Woody Guthrie and quickly became his disciple. Befriending a community of folk musicians and supporting artists such as John Lee Hooker at shows, Bob soon became one of America's most promising young talents. Known not just for his performances, he was brilliant at writing songs that expressed what people felt and thought. He signed his first record deal at age 20 with Columbia Records and quickly became known as one of the most original and poetic voices in popular music. Bob went on to win multiple awards for his contribution to music and literature, but his greatest achievement was simply being himself. At a time of great change, Bob's music gave people a voice, and his work continues to do so for millions of listeners, young and old, today. The end.